Record. All right, everyone, welcome to the 757 Roundtable Talk. We got a real special guest tonight. On behalf of my co-founder, Carl Francis, I'm Vernon Lee. This is part of the Hampton Roads Youth Foundation series. Carl, who is this gentleman, scholar, that we have with us this evening?
Well, first of all, I didn't even bring out his Wikipedia page because he needs no introduction. I mean, this my main man right here. I mean, I'm talking about, and it's almost like it would be a disrespect to go down and list and name Pro Bowls and all that old stuff. Just say Prime and everybody understand what we are, who we talking to today. So, man, look, Prime, look, bro, I know what you do. I know what you represent. And so that's why, I thank you for coming on, man. I know you're busy, got a lot going on. You got some new stuff just popped open. I'm real happy for you. And but I want to thank you for taking the time out today to talk to us a little bit, bro. I really do.
Man, I appreciate it. I don't know your format, but I'm ready, man. I'm happy. I'm a high school coach, which if my feet don't touch the grass, man, there's a problem. I love coaching football. I love these kids. I love the youth. I love the nuances that the situations and even the problems that they provide for us, man. But I love it. This is what I live for every day. When I wake up, I was just going over plays. I had to go over all my play scripts from last year to find a couple nuggets that I forgot about to install for week one, which is next week. So that's how I get down, man. I'm looking over the last year's game scripts. I found about 5 good ones.
You got good ones for this year.
Yeah. I found 5 good ones that'll cover 4 beaters.
You know what, man? It's funny. Like when we first connected, everybody knows you for what you do on Sundays or what you used to do on Sundays and all that stuff, which is fine, right? But what I figured out quick was if you really wanted to have a conversation with Prime, you talk about kids and you talk about helping kids. Like he good with the football. He can talk about who's going to win on Sundays. That's fine. That's a part of his space and what he did. And when it comes to talking about these young people and their growth and their development as young men in football, man, that's a whole new conversation with you. Tell us what gives you that passion to work with young people?
Man, I think I derived that from my mother. Stepfather, good man, alcoholic, always seen that prevalent. Biological father, drug addict. That explains why I've never smoked or drank in my life because of things I saw. You have the choice to replicate that or dismiss that, and I dismissed that. But my mother worked her butt off, man. So ends could see one another, but also I always had one of my homies, and my sister, who's 7 years younger, always had one of her girlfriends. So we always had kids at home. And even though we didn't have a lot, we always fed them. She always fed them, always looked after them, always treated them like they were hers. My homeboys really actually lived with me, man. So I've always had that affection, and my mother has raised probably several foster kids.
Wow.
Not for the money, not for the hustle. It's a hustle in that community sometimes with foster kids. But my mother just took them in. When I went pro, I had to tell my mother, hey, you got to stop, man. It's over. We got it. But she used to go be the cafeteria woman at one of the little elementary schools. I'm like, Mom, come on, now you got to stop. You make me look bad. Like I'm not taking care of you. Now you got to shut that thing down. Right. But that's who she was. So I inherited that gift and that passion for people, for her. And contrary to my stigma and to my personality somewhat, I'm very recluse, man. I'm out on here on land, and I'm a country boy with a city swag, man. I like to stay to myself, but I love the youth, man. I love tomorrow. I love the people that have an opportunity to make a change today, man. And I love people, I really do. I really do.
But tell me about that connection to, I know you like saving lives. We always talk about that because we're in the saving lives business, right?
Yeah.
That's what we do, particularly young people.
Yeah, particularly young people. Man, it was one point in time when my oldest daughter, who's now 30, and my son is 26, soon to be 27. It when they were kids in the summers, man, they would have all their friends over. And at that time, you know, we were tremendously blessed. So we had a home that could facilitate that. But it was one point in time, man, I counted 14 kids every day in the summer. So you got to understand, you got to feed 14 kids breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I made a whole regiment, a whole workout routine, a whole that. You know, it was like boot camp. You ain't gonna just sit right here and do nothing. Now we're gonna get up, we're gonna work out, we're gonna eat breakfast, we're gonna pray together, we're gonna do that, we're gonna get the word some kind of way during the day, and we're gonna have jobs and chores. And then I made up so much stuff on the weekends. On that Friday, we had awards night. What award night mean? The laziest fool, that whoever won the laziest award of the week, whoever won the most likely to do better next week, or ain't done nothing. We had all kind of hood awards, and who was the best kid in the house of that week, and we had a good time, man. So I've always welcomed in my kids' friends, and I've always had that passion for the young ones, because everyone didn't come up right, you know. Everyone had the opportunity to stay right, but many of them took a left, man, and I just tried to give them the navigation system years and years ago, and that has always stuck with me.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that, I mean, as you know, being a high school football coach, people don't know it. It's a tremendous commitment, and tonight we have a number of coaches on who are in the same business, because to me, my personal opinion, if you're a high school coach and you're not in the life-saving business, you're in the wrong business. That's how I think.
If you're in the care business, first of all, if you're a high school coach, you're the coach, you're the parent, you're the teacher, you're the principal, you're the pastor, you're the ATM, you're the disciplinarian, you're the field guy. You wear a multitude of hats, and if you're not wearing many of those hats, there's a problem with you. I often take things home. Now, I know how to deposit them in the closet once I take them home. But bad practice, man, I had to pray my way all the way home from practice the other day. Bad practice. And I'm like, why don't they get it? God, why don't they get it? Why when right is right there as an option, you choose left? I said, oh, the reason is because there's another option. Because when a child has choices, oftentimes they make the wrong ones. And it's up to us to lead them to the right, down the right path. But we're dealing with a new kid. Oftentimes I go in tennis shoes that's comfortable, or I even put on a pair of cleats, because this generation is the show me. This generation is not like us, because our parents told us because I said so.
Right.
This generation ain't with that. You got to show them, man. If I want, and I run the offense, I'm running because I'm a defensive back, but I run the offense. If I want to route this way, I got to show them that route. Then I got to show them not only the routes, I got to show them the why. Okay, they in cover 4 from the slot. I got a corner, you know, and I got to stop out here. So that safety has to take that. If not, we got to run that stop, and we going to pause 1 second, run the slant, and we got to flare from the back. They can't deal with that. Like, but you got to really explain all of this for one specific thing. Then you got to make it to the other side of the field and let them know how that works. Then explain that to the linemen, and everybody got to be on one accord. And we're dealing with a generation that don't communicate. Just the other day in practice, you know, they gave us not exotic blitz, a normal blitz. So I'm asking my lineman, okay, what do you do on this? He says, out call, because we got that guy coming out, the guard step out. I said, what's his name? So you don't even know the dude next to you. You don't even know his name. Yeah, his name is Elijah. Well, what's his last name? Give me one tangible thing about him that you know. They don't communicate. But if I were to tape a phone to both of their legs, they'll text each other before the play start. They'll DM each other before the play start. But they can't communicate to the guy right next to you saying we got an out call. And you got to understand that linemen are really subtle. They're really introverts. You know, if you got a lineman that's external, oftentimes he's a defensive guy, not an offensive guy. So dealing with the different understandings of your positions is fascinating to me. And I got to get to know all of them. I got some kids from out of town that plays for me. Each week, I take them out to lunch right after practice because I need them to know me. I need to develop a relationship because once I develop the relationship, now I can get into their butts. I can't get into their butts with that relationship because now it's just this old dude yelling. They don't know crime. They don't know what I accomplished. They could Google me, but they don't represent seeing it. So they just know this old dude yelling at them. But if I have a relationship that gives me an entry level, a tremendous entry level.
See, yeah. And I think you just said something in terms of relationship and getting to know kids because everybody's different.
Everybody's different.
So it's that old saying, like, I think Bill Parcells said, and I might mess it up, but it's like, I might treat everybody the same, but everybody's different. Like, everybody's not gonna get the same treatment because everybody communicates on a different level. And I gotta be able to poke you in certain areas to get you going.
But you gotta know those guys.
Exactly.
You gotta know who can't take the yelling, who needs the yelling. You got to know those type of guys. You got to understand that it's a touch and feel type of thing because you got to know who's who. It's almost like you're functioning out there on that field with a multitude of walls. Okay, I can yell at this guy, I can't yell at that guy, because yell at him, he gonna get sensitive. Forget that guy, if he's sensitive, he done for the rest of the game. He is out of there. But you got to stay on him. If you don't keep your foot on his neck, he ain't gonna ball for you. But you got to put his foot on his neck because he got a tendency to let up if you don't. Okay, this from here, all you have to do is say a couple things. Because then, but you got to understand where they derive from. Who has the mother, who has the father.
Right.
You know, it's sort of like coaching. You know, my plan is to coach at the next level, next season, and I already have the stereotypes of the players that I want. And I'm not, without giving away everything, when it comes to offensive linemen, man, I oftentimes want them to have a mother and a father. That's what I want to recruit. Because oftentimes I found out with my coaching history, when the father is in the home, the kid is much more disciplined. He's much more understanding of rules, regulations, and more prompt to be on time, especially if that father's a working father and a man of the house. He understands, not endurance, but he understands, I can't even gather the word that I'm trying to find right now, but he understands the nuances of life somewhat, that he has a decision he has to make oftentimes, and he has to do it right. He has to be not only acceptable, but he has to live a right life, the right life like his father does. And oftentimes when you get a lineman who pattern himself with a dual family home, you get somebody that you could depend on, that you could count on. Now, defensive lineman, I want totally opposite. I don't need you to have no mom and dad in the house. I want you nasty. I want you mean. I want you with you know, no DUIs, but I want you risk. I want you to the point that I got to keep my eye on you. If you got a tattoo on the back of your neck, that's cool with me. All right, I'm gonna keep you under control, but I want you nasty, man. I'm just giving you a couple of stereotypes how I want. Yeah, because oftentimes the linemen are really cerebral, man, offensively, defensively, and you look at the stereotypes of guys that we understand in our league that has been very, very dominant. Yeah, there's somewhat similar types, and these type of guys that I'm looking for, and these type of guys that I have. But also, when you have that mother and that father in the house, that kid is a stable kid. So he's not gonna be nasty. He's not gonna be mean. He's not gonna have none of that in him, right? But he's gonna do what you ask him to do, and that's what you want from your offensive side.
Man, I love it. Vernon, I'm gonna turn it over to the coaches because they're the ones that really want to talk to Prime and get some of his ideas and thoughts. So can we turn it over to a few questions?
Yeah. So anybody has questions, just hit the raise hand button at the bottom of the screen, and then we'll start trying to get everyone in. Or you can post a question in the Q&A section. So either way, we'll either read your question or pull you in and you can ask your question directly. Just hit the raise hand. All right.
Paul, I appreciate this, man. I just want you to know that I appreciate what you're doing.
Man, do you know how much?
You and Vernon, man, I appreciate what y'all are doing. This is phenomenal. I love it. I absolutely love it. I didn't know what I was walking into, but I trust you because you're a good brother. You always have been, Carl. But I love it, man.
My man, I appreciate you. Really do.
Good stuff. Thanks. All right, we got our first question from Linwood Stokes. What is your offensive philosophy in today's game?
My offensive philosophy, man, I run a wide open offense, many different formations, but I'm ultimately running the same plays. I could run spread, dive left, and I simplify my calls because I've learned all players have different learning abilities. And I could really give you the educational call from my background in the NFL, but what does that do from this kid that really got kind of a C student, or this kid that has a folder? You want to keep it simple. If I'm running the spread, left, dive right, if we call it that, we call it that. Okay, but I run a wide open offense, and my target is, man, I got to find a way to get the ball in the hands of my playmakers. If I don't, I'm a fool. It's no reason to run a spread offense and you don't have spread personnel. It's no reason to run two tight offensive formation with two receivers and one back, and we call it double tight, double wide, and you don't have a line. It don't make no reason. You got huge splits and your line is slow and they don't have no feet. You got to understand what you have and base that offense around what you have. But if you have what you have, man, you want to keep it simple. You want to do a multitude of things out of simple things, but out of multitude of formations, if you can. Because one thing that the defense, they don't like is movement. They don't like movement at all. They do not like movement. And if you got a quarterback that's knowledgeable and can spin it, you go a long way. You don't need a bunch of dogs. You probably need about 4 or 5 of them. You can hide a couple guys in certain positions, but you could do some wonderful things. But you want to play smart, you want to play fast, and you want to play tough. Smart, fast, and tough. So a lot of thinking, that's going to eliminate being smart. You can't play fast when they're constantly thinking. And you got to develop that mental and that physical toughness in your guys.
All right, Coach. So we got Coach Jackson. Hold on, we're going to get you in here. Coach Jackson, can you hear us? You can unmute yourself. Coach Jackson, just unmute yourself.
You got me now?
There we go. All right, Coach Jackson, what's your question?
Got a question for you. How you doing, Brian? I'm a retired coach now. I'm doing the AD thing now, and want to know what's your thoughts, or what are you talking to a young coach? You know, I try to groom a lot of the young coaches now, and one thing I heard you say about there's a different kid now. Well, I'm seeing there's a different coach also. What do you say to that younger coach that when I look on social media, these coaches that are looking for credit for what I consider doing things you're supposed to do? You know, kid gets out here, they sign, and all you see, they post more than the kid does about blessed to sign here, sign there. What do you say to that coach? Because I'm about being committed to a life of service. You know, I did coaching about 30 years. I'm in my 4th year now as an AD. What do you say to that coach, that young coach now, when they're getting in this game and getting in for the right reasons?
Well, a lot of these coaches getting in for the wrong reasons. They're getting in to be seen, to be heard, to be noticed, to garnish likes, to get retweets, and to be that guy in the neighborhood. I don't ever recall my high school coach even thinking like that. I can't even fathom that understanding. And from your tone, you seem to be old school like I am. And there's a difference between old school and old fool. You just old school. And we're not going to be old fools to the trappings of life that these youngsters are coming in with. Now, it starts off with the parents as well. You know, once upon a time, we sent a kid to practice, and he was in the hands of the coach. If a kid came back home and said, that coach is messing with me, you know, the parent back then say, well, what you did? See, nowadays you say the same thing. Now here come the parent and the kid coming to practice in the car and they filming everything, you know, because they want to take you to the 6 o'clock news. And it's just a different game. See, these coaches, and you're 100% correct, the coaches are changing. The kids are still running the same game, still doing the same stuff. You got a couple kids on there. Just say you got 11 kids. You got 2 leaders. You got 2 who ain't got no business on your team, and you got 7 in the middle, all right? Now, the 2 leaders and the 2 ain't got no business on your team, they fighting for the 7. You got to make sure those 2 leaders gonna win that fight, because that 7 is undecided and they don't know what they want to do because they're followers. It's the same thing in coaching. You can't have more coaches that really don't want to be there or just sitting up there for a stipend or the attention, more of those guys than the ones who really want to do stuff. So you got to understand, as an AD, you got to make sure, and I use the old Bible quote, and this is why I think I've been successful as a coach, because the Bible told me my rod and that staff, they comfort me. That rod is the extension of my hand. That rod is what protrudes out of my mouth. That rod is the way I go about stuff. But that staff, God, coach, they got to comfort me, man. That staff got it. If I got something to do for the NFL, I'm out of town. That staff got to do what I would do on that particular day. They got to comfort me. You shouldn't have to hover over those young ones, coaches, and make sure practices run on time and run professionally. And they have a schedule. A lot of coaches right now winging it. They ain't even got no schedule. They just winging it. And then it's a lot of standing. You got a multitude of kids are standing around, and those kids are not being developed. You got to develop that, because there's somewhere in the season you're going to have adversity, and somebody going to get hurt that you counted on, or something going to happen, or maybe that kid flunks out that you counted on, and you have not yet tried to develop that other one. And you can't play favorites. But a lot of these coaches right now, man, they on something different. And the best thing we could do is to try to give them a guide and teach them, reach them and teach them, correct them, but yet protect them, because they need to know. A lot of them just don't know.
All right, we got some more questions coming in. If you got questions, just hit the raise your hand button on the bottom of the screen and we'll get you in. Prime, we got a question from Coach McKay. He says he's a young high school coach and he was curious on the different paths to get into college football coaching.
Let me tell you something, man. I'm going to give it to you as raw and simplistic as possible. Coaching is about relationships, man. Like, I know for a fact that I'm going to be offered a college job next year. And by the time you get to me to ask me about that job, I've already assembled a first staff and a second staff and possibly a third staff if I can't get those guys that I desire. What I'm trying to say is coaching in college at the next level is really about relationships. I can't begin to go on a journey with you and kids are involved and I don't know you. I got to know you through the fire. I got to know you through the storm, because when it gets hot, I got to know that you got my back and you got to know that I got your back. So it's nobody that Carl is going to recommend to get on here without a relationship, to talk to y'all, to pour into you. It's nobody that I'm going to bring to do anything tangible with kids or financially if I don't have a relationship with you. So some type of way, I don't care if you have to start at the ground level, but you got to develop a relationship. See, everybody talk about minority hiring in the NFL. Oh, I love it. You know why I love it? I don't know how many African-American coaches that we have as head coaches, but if those guys aren't hiring African-Americans as defensive and offensive coordinators, we're not going to never see change. It's easy to hire somebody as a running back coach, you know, a receiver coach. We get those jobs easy. But until we start hiring those guys as coordinators, then we'll see the rise up. But it starts right there. It starts right there. But you got to develop a relationship, man, to get to the next level on some type of way. I don't care if it's a Mark Rick was a GA when I was at Florida State. Was a darn GA. You know, ended up doing a wonderful job with Georgia and went over to Miami. That didn't work out so well, but I can remember him running down the halls with his keys shaking in his pocket as a graduate assistant, man. But oftentimes, the other, and I'm gonna say this because I can, because I don't care, because I love you like that, but the other races are willing to work and take their time. What I mean by at the ground level, we some kind of way want favors. We want to jump right in at this certain level. That's beneath us. That's why a lot of pro guys don't get into the NFL, because we feel like, man, shoot, I'm crying, man. I'm done all this and that. If I go in, I'm gonna be the OC of DC off the rip at the pro level. It don't work like that. It don't work like that. First of all, you got to get in at the ground level and work your way up. That's normally how it works. But we don't want to hear that. We feel like our credentials should get us somewhere else.
Speaking that truth.
You got to have some heck of a credentials to do that. It can work, trust me. I know. But you got to have some heck of a credentials.
All right, we got another question for you. Again, if you got a question, hit the raise hand button and we'll get you in. Let's see. So this one goes back to a little bit more on the defensive side of things. How do you teach DBs in today's offensive-minded league? And I guess when they say league, I'm thinking at all levels, or particularly at the high school level.
It's a lot of different teaching going on. It's a lot of coaches are teaching their scheme. It's a lot of coaches developing players. You got to figure out who you are. Like some guys, especially at the high school level, they just run the scheme regardless of the players. And some guys will say, you know what, I'm going to develop this player to the next level. In the process, we're going to win, but I'm going to develop this guy to make sure he gets on to the next level, not scheme. Like whenever I play against somebody, I'm watching film right now on the team that we're about to play next week, and both cornerbacks have their back to the sideline. That means they don't want to get beat. That's the coaches telling them nothing deep, nothing cheap. So now I got to base my offense on, we got to run a lot of stop routes. We got to run a lot of this. It's not going to be big routes unless I can confuse them on down distances. And then when they start to blitz, because I know we're going to gash them, they're going to have to blitz them sooner or later. We'll take advantage of that, but we're going to have to be patient. Defensively, defensive backs, everyone wants to be a corner because the corner is getting paid. Okay, everyone's not built to be a corner. And you got all different type of corners, man. You got bump and run corners, you got off corners, you got cover two corners, you got different type of corners, but everyone thinks they can bump. And bumping ain't just rushing somebody at the line of scrimmage. That's not bumping, man. That's just trying to catch somebody before they get started, because the idea of it, if he really gets started, you can't handle what he got. So you want to try to catch him and disrupt that before he gets started. And it's hard to really teach that position unless you really know that position or get some input of that position, because your lack thereof of cornerback play can get you eaten alive at the next level. And oftentimes the teams that you see go, they have a dominant guy on that back end. They have a dominant guy in that interior, in the middle, at linebacker position, and they have a dominant guy up front. Now those three guys run those meeting rooms, and they hold everyone else accountable. So even if the guy's not dominant, you want that guy to be professional so he can run that part of your group. So if you take your eyes off for a minute, don't worry about it, because he's going to hold everyone accountable. But that defensive position and the way you go about it, the defensive backs, that's tough, because there's so many different teachings and so many different philosophies.
All right, we got another one in the Q&A. Again, if you want to ask a question directly, just hit the raise hand button at the bottom of the screen. Oh, this is a good one, Prime. As a parent coach, what is the best and worst aspects of the current college recruiting process?
The current college recruiting process?
College recruiting.
As a parent coach of high school?
That's right, yep. So as a parent and coach, currently, what is the worst part of the college recruiting process?
As a parent, dealing with some coaches who are focused on just winning and not your child getting to college. Here in Texas, coaches will tell these kids, quick, my job is to win, not to get you to college. And to me, I don't understand. It's the direct opposite to me, because it seems like if I could get the multitude of my kids to college, I won. That's victory to me. You know, although we won state titles, but I get that state title back if you give me 5 more kids off that roster that went to college. Because that's what it's about, getting these kids to the next level so they can affect and infect the potential communities that they derive from. As a parent, that's tough when a coaching staff is not putting in the necessary work to get that kid to the next level or developing that kid for that Friday's game. That's tough for me. Now, as a parent coach, that's tough, man, because I don't ask my son to be the best. I ask him to give me his best. And I know when he's giving me his best. I'm very critical of him. I treat him like if you came to our practices, you would know which one was my kid until you took off his helmet and looked just like me. But it's no favoritism. Matter of fact, I'm probably harder on my kid. Shiloh's going to South Carolina than I am on other kids, because I have an expectation of them because they know better in some instances. As a parent, as a coach dealing with the colleges, seeing the favoritism in the it's not going to say good old boy network, because the brothers do it too. But the favoritism, like if a kid has 4 or 5 stars and my kid just whooped him, you want that kid with the star because you think that kid is going to earn you more accolades because he has the star. And I'm telling you, that kid with the star, somebody just gave him that star. Trust me, I could call right now and get any kid 3 or 4 stars because I got that kind of juice. And I know how they do it. But oftentimes we overlook some diamonds, man. Some diamonds because they don't have a star by their name, and then you're trying to sell them to a college. And oftentimes what I do, if they come in for kid A, who's a 3 or 4 star, you best believe before they get to see anything, transcripts, anything, they're going to see kid B, C, D, and F. So you got to play this game with me. Before you get him, you going to watch this kid. Just in case you may have a friend, another partner, homeboy, who needs somebody that you're in friendship with at another school. He may come out and say, hey man, Prime got a kid that I wouldn't even want to see him, but he showed me this tackle. That's a dog. You probably need to call that. So we do a lot of that as well. But as a coach, it's tough to kind of get these guys off the one thing that they came for just because these guys have some accolades. Because I'm at all the unarmored camps and I see all these kids, and I see some of these kids with these accolades, they ain't built like that. No, God, they ain't built like that, especially against some heat. So I tell my kids at camp, if that joker's a 4 or 5 star and you don't have no star, you go get up there and whoop him. Day 1, first play, whoop him. And I want you to wear something light and flashy so they say, hey man, that dude with the red shoes, man, that dude got some, do not blend in when you go to a camp. We don't play the blend in stuff. We play the standout stuff. Yeah, that dude with the orange shorts, boy, that boy got something right. That dude with them yellow gloves, we gonna stand out some type of way to make sure we try to get that offer. And once we get that offer, based on who that kid is, you're gonna accept that offer. You ain't got time to be playing around, especially right now in this COVID situation, in this pandemic stuff. There ain't gonna be no visits. Yeah, coaches don't have a lot of time to recruit either. They gonna take what they can. So when you get that offer, you better take it.
All right, we got okay, Shalmar is in. All right, let me get you in here. Shalmar, can you hear us? You can flip your video on.
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
You're in? Yep, we hear you. You can flip your video on.
All right.
Hey, man, what's going on? All right.
What's going on? Good seeing you.
Good to see you.
All right, good seeing you, Prime. Thank you for joining us on this call as well. I coached at Norfolk Christian High School. It's a smaller high school in Norfolk, Virginia, right? And what I love the most about the school is the people. not only the players, but the coaches that I coach with. They're God-fearing, integrity is tight, and what have you. The most challenging piece of that is, how do you get the best out of every single player with smaller number rosters? And I think during this COVID, you're going to have a lot of schools with smaller rosters this year and for the foreseeable years as well. How do you get the best out of every single athlete? And that's what the challenging piece is for me. And then also, everyone's working both ways. I know when I grew up I played both ways, but nowadays, hey, I want to be just a running back, or I just want to be a corner, or what have you. So how do you get people to buy in, play the position that you want them to play, not the position that they want to play, and get the best out of them?
Well, I'm going to take one thing at a time and remind me of the second phase of your question when I get there, because I'm getting old. I'm just turned 53. I don't recall things like I once did. You have the situation that we have. Our year one, we had 34 players who won state, about 30. Year two, I think we had 40 players. Last year, we had 48. This year, we're well over 50. So I do understand the like thereof of numbers. When you have a like in numbers, you guys should be celebrating, because now you get more individual attention. So I know you have some guys play both ways, and you have to, because there ain't enough talent to go around when you have smaller numbers. But when you have your offensive periods, you got to have just that. Some guys that don't play both ways, and they're with their defense perspective coaches, they got to really work on fine-tuning the techniques, to understanding and the why of the game. See, we oftentimes tell them what to do, but like I alluded to earlier, we don't tell them why. Like if you tell them why I need you to take on that block with the inside shoulder and leave your outside arm free, you got to tell them why, then they're more apt to understand. And kids these days are video-centric kids. So find a way to send videos to their phones of what you want. You could go on YouTube and find Charles Haley or somebody that they like, Von Miller, doing what you said, and send it to that whole group on their phones, and they're wonderful. Zoom is incredible. We did the whole off-season during Zoom when the pandemic was really at its highest. We did a lot of teaching and a lot of focusing, and I got a lot of guys like Tony O'Brien and Ray Lewis on to talk to our kids, to try to inspire them and encourage them. But then when you find a kid, I got a big kid that came from Mississippi. The kid is like 285, 6'4", 285, and the dog thought he was a tight end. I say, son, I can send you to the HBCU all day long, and you're going to play tight end. But guess what? After that, where you going? Look at college football, Power 5, and tell me how many 285 darn pound tight ends that you see. I said, it ain't going to be like that. Now, we could do that so you can be happy, but if your dream is to take care of your mama for the rest of her life, you're going to have to listen to what I say. I said, son, you're a guard. You're a guard. You can run like a deer. You're physical. You're aggressive, but you got to want. See, offensive players, you got to want to block somebody. Defensive players are easy to go hunt, to go tackle somebody. That's natural, you know. But to want to block somebody, to kick somebody, keep somebody off him, you got to want to do that. So getting them to buy in and to understand your vision for them, and make them understand that you have the best interest at heart, that you're trying to help them elevate to the next level. That's how you get into those guys, to hopefully get them to buy in and to do what you want to do. But you got to make it challenging to them. You got to make it fun. And it all this starts with a relationship. See, one of my big kids, 6'4", 340, he's a left tackle, but he's really a college guard. We playing him at tackle because he liked that, but he's really a guard. You know, he came up to me the other day, want to wrestle. I said, I don't do that with kids. I don't do that. I don't do that. I don't play around. You're going to understand me. I'm your coach. I'm not your homie. I'm not your partner. I joke and clown with you verbally, but to grab it and tell you, we ain't going to do all that. You know, we ain't going to do all that. So you got to keep that barrier, build a relationship, but you got to keep that respect barrier there. Give me the other phase of that, because I don't want to make sure I forgot something.
No, I think you answered them all. The last phase was how you get someone to play a position that they don't want to play. Yeah. And you answered that as well. Thank you. Yeah.
You got to show them, and they got to believe you that it's for their best interest. I moved a kid that is a slot receiver, was having a bad camp. I moved him, had a bad 7-on-7 a couple of weeks ago. I moved him to running back. So I just moved him back over to let him get some routes at receiver just yesterday. And I put him aside after practice. I said, son, you know why I did that to you? He said, no, sir. I said, I need you to be versatile. I don't need you just to be a slot receiver. I need you to be versatile so when people see you at film, on the film, they say, dang, that kid plays slot and he plays running back and he could block and he could run and he could run after catch. I said, your versatility is going to broaden the scope of you getting an offer. If I just leave you right here and you have a bad game right there, that's all you got. But if I put you here and here and find ways to get you the ball in your strengths, because your strength is not running vertical. Your strength is He's a little water bug. I got to just find ways. I say it's on me to make sure you're successful. And then I get buy-in because he know I'm trying to look out for him. I'm just not disciplining them and putting them in a bad situation. I'm trying to better their situation so ultimately they go to the next level.
Oh, we're getting some jewels. You passing out the jewels tonight. All right, we got Coach Spade. I hope I'm not mispronouncing your name there, Coach. His question is, what are your thoughts on best 11 versus 2 platoon in high school football?
I say you put your best kids on the field, but you got to understand that linemen can't get down like that. A lot of linemen can't get down like that. You can't have 5 linemen going both ways. And the one thing you really want to protect is your center. I don't play the center game. Center go down what you got. A young kid that's scared. And then if I see that young kid that's scared, I'm going to make sure we go to a 3-4 to try to whoop him, and I'm going to jump offside to hit him on that first play just to try to punk him. That's the mind games we play. But you got to be careful of your guys going both ways. That's very, very valuable. I grew up in an era of both ways. I love it. Now, my skill positions, if they got it, they got it. But you got to be smart enough as a coach to say, okay, I just scored in like 4 or 5 plays. Okay, now he gonna go on defense. When he come back on offense, if they hadn't scored, I'm gonna give him a break. All right, I may run the ball this series. I don't need him at receiver. I'm gonna give him a break. You got to understand the game and what the game presents in situations, so you can make sure you're resting that guy and make sure he's in shape enough that when his legs get heated, that he's not gonna pull nothing, pull a hamstring because he's not there. And for your guys to get to college, you want to have your best. So we have a defensive lineman, offensive lineman first, then he plays both ways. He's a dog, nasty. He can whoop you on both sides of the ball. But if it comes down to it, this guy is an offensive guy. So if we start liking on the offensive side, we're going to forget that defense because that's who he is, and I got to make sure I get him to college. And I can't be selfish enough to win, and forego his opportunity to go to the next level because he got to have great film. We got to turn in great film. And that's my rule at practice. Walkthrough is a walkthrough. Stretching is stretching. Conditioning is conditioning. But when you see that film guy up there, when he starts filming, you better give it to me. Because if I'm a college coach, I don't want to see no game. Guess what I'm going to call y'all and ask y'all? Send me the practice film. Because your practice film going to tell me who that kid is. That's what I want to see. I want to see that kid at practice. Because that's what I'm going to have to deal with, 4 days a week, him practicing. One day he get the opportunity to play in the game. Anybody get hyped up for the game. But I know he's not going to have longevity if he don't have great practice habits. So that's the first thing I want to ask for when I'm coaching at the next level. I want to see the practice tape.
You know, Prime, I'm going to jump in here right quick. Now, a lot of, I know in the state, we're in the state of Virginia, they've sort of postponed football until the spring. And they're coming up with a plan to play an abbreviated season. And it is what it is. You got to work through it. Mm-hmm. But what advice would you give the coaches on now, like, you know, this is like an adrenaline for them. This is their time. This is their year. But it's the reset button has been pressed. And now you want to keep your kids together, but they're doing online school. The state is not allowing you to have access to the kids like you want. What advice would you give coaches on how to keep kids motivated, keep their mind focused and not have them stray, which we know they can do in this environment of being sort of free flowing now, and just in terms of not being under the tutelage of a high school coach. What advice would you give high school coach on how to manage that now?
What we're doing right now. You know, when we're in our pandemic state, at the height of it, we was right here. Okay. I was hitting the button seeing all the faces. I was hitting the button saying, sit up in your chair, take the darn hoodie off your head, and you better not have on a hat, and quit playing in your hair. Mm-hmm. And let's go to work. So we were encouraging them and motivating them. They can't stop Zoom.
Right.
They can't stop Zoom. And then with our group list, I say, you know what, guys? We can't work out with you, can't do that. But I better see you better send in something of you working out. I want to see something that you text on that group team list of you working out. And players, y'all better hold them accountable. So it's a way to go about still keeping your order and structure and keeping your hand on them. And each coach got to have this segment. You know, if I got the receivers and the quarterbacks, that's on me. Your corners better be straight. You got the linebackers, they better be straight. That's when the position coach need to do what they do. You got to coach. Like right now, up there in that area, this is a fruitful time for you because now you're storing information, you're storing understanding, you're storing wisdom, you're sharpening your tools and your skills that when it starts, you should have an impeccable practice schedule when it starts that you say, you know what, man, I can't wait to get started because, boy, I'm so full right now. I can't wait to give all this stuff I got inside of me out. You got to sharpen yourself right now. It's not a down time for you. It's a time to install so many attributes inside yourself and game plans and studies and philosophies and practice schedule and practice habits that you want to discipline your kids with. Right now is a wonderful, fruitful time for you guys because you're getting to sit back and watch everything. Mm-hmm. So it should be a fruitful time up there that they should be able to take this time, manage it precisely and concisely with these kids on a Zoom from a couple times a week. And do they even allow 7-on-7 up there?
You know, I'm not sure. I don't think so, honestly. Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I think they stopped 7-on-7s during the first phases. They may just open it up now that because they still have some rules in place with the social distancing and certain number of players on the field.
What about basketball? They let them play? They let them hoop?
I think they're going to let them hoop, but it's they're waiting for it's like a waiting game. Like they're already dealt with the ball.
They got y'all on lockdown for real, huh?
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah. This is the time you really got to get these kids on Zoom and get their attention, and they need to know that you love them. They need to know that you care. They need to know first of all that you're there. You don't have to be perfect. I tell parents this all the time. You ain't got to be perfect, but darn it, you got to be present. You got to be present, and this is the time to be present in these kids' lives.
Now, being a person in your position, obviously, you know, and just from a media standpoint, I mean, there's nobody that's more projected publicly than yourself. But when you're dealing with these kids, what type of advice do you give kids on how to manage social media? Because that is very key. Like you and I know kids can really damage themselves. They are brands, whether you're a starter or non-starter, you have a brand. What do you tell them in regard to managing their social media presence?
We don't play the profanity. We don't play even somebody using profanity. We don't even play you placing that on there. You got to understand, I'm such a disciplinarian, man. Like, you can't wear no earrings on my team. You can't wear no earrings, and we going to wear black socks, and you only going to wear what I give you. There ain't going to be no individualism. There ain't going to be no one glove on and one glove off. You're going to wear two gloves. You're going to wear the gloves we gave you. You're going to wear the cleats we gave you. It's not going to be one sock down, one sock up. No, if we wear blue socks, we wear blue socks. Ain't going to be no tights and no footies. I wish you would come back down the field for me with some footies on. Everybody know that saying right there. Hey, you ask my kids what that means, they say, go take it off. Go take it off. Your shoes untied. Run. You drop a ball. That's my run. You're going to get some discipline. And if you late, say for instance, practice starts at 8 o'clock, you get to 8:05. Well, just run for 5 minutes because I want mine back. Because you cost me 5, I'm going to cost you 5. I want my 5 minutes back. I wish I could make the parent run because most of the kids don't drive, but the parents can't run. So if you late, that's on you. One time I told the kids, you know what I'm gonna do? Tomorrow I'm gonna give y'all a bunch of Jordans. I'm gonna give y'all a bunch of Jordans tomorrow, 8 o'clock. Everybody there on time. I showed them a picture of it. I told you I was gonna give it to you. Here it is right here. But you see how y'all can get here on time when you think you got something coming? But you don't want to get there in time when you want to put in the work. See, a lot of these kids, and I had the same discussion yesterday. God, y'all tapping in at the right time. A lot of these kids, they just practice to get practice over with. They don't practice with purpose. A lot of coaches just coach just to get the day over with. They don't coach with a purpose. What is your purpose of today's practice? What do you want to get out of today's practice? Well, I got to work on the short yardage. I got to work on the red. So you got to get something out of it. Okay, that play ain't going to work. I don't like the way we flow with that. Let me get that out of here because you don't need a bunch of plays down there. You're not going to be down there a bunch. Hopefully you can win before you get down there and score. But if you're in that zone, you don't need but a few plays. You don't need but a few plays down there, man. That's it. Don't overdo it. So it's a lot of things we got to practice with purpose, man. We got to live our days with purpose. My lady tell you, man, that 7:30 come around and 7, if I'm still in the bed, that's a problem. Because I'm like, hey, man, I got to do something. I got to go work out. I got to do something. I'm not an idle person. In my mind, when I'm sitting there, if I sit too long, she'll say, what you think about? I said, baby, that darn screen was garbage at practice today. She don't know nothing about no screen, but I'm sitting there thinking, how can I do that? I'll put a whiteboard right by the kitchen table. So it's 7 o'clock. I can sit right there because when I'm at the table eating, I get a lot of thought. So I get right there. I can draw something up with the defense up there. So you got to have a purpose for everything you do.
Absolutely.
All right, we got some clarification on the 7-on-7. So there are 7-on-7 clubs that can happen in Virginia, but they're not, the high school teams can't sponsor 7-on-7s.
You call your team a club. You get one of the knuckleheads that you trust, one of the parents, if you do, you call your team a club. That's how you got to do it. That's how we do it here. Your team is a club. They don't need to wear your school colors. I don't care if they wear white T-shirts. They need to work on their game.
Then just further on your coaching philosophy, Coach Hines had a question. How do you coach to watch film and see what you see?
That's a tough one. That's one that I wish I could be here with you because the understanding of when you watch film from a player perspective. Let me give you from a player's perspective. A player's perspective watches film and he only watches himself. Don't watch no one else. He watches himself, the whole darn play. That's it. We just want to see what he's doing. He has no regard for nothing else going on. He just watches himself, and that's the wrong way to watch film. As a coach, when you watch film, you're trying to watch things as a whole, and you're trying to see where your holes at. You're trying to see where your holes at, where your minuses are, so you could fill those holes. When you watching and scheming, when I'm watching another team to prepare against, the first thing I'm looking for is their holes. I'm looking for the defense. Okay, you got 34, 43. If I got a 34, I know, okay, my center got to bring it. He got to bring it. Although he's going to get some help, but he got somebody in front of him. I got to make sure he's straight on his snaps with a body in front of him, especially if it's an aggressive body in front of him. I need that ball there. That ball ain't going to be there. Something's wrong. So I got to put somebody that's trying to whoop him all week to make sure he's ready. Now, secondly, I got to find your holes on your defense because I'm going to exploit that. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for who's the softest one on that line. Oftentimes, your coverages are told by your linebackers. Most people look at the secondary, they tell a lot of the coverage, but your linebackers, if he's over here, that means somebody's coming from there. If he's over there, that means somebody's coming from there. It's easy to figure out, and that's what I teach my son, who's the quarterback. If your guys got their back turned to the sideline, they're scared, they don't want to get beat deep, so we're going to be able to just dink and dunk all the way down the field, and we don't care about that. We're not impatient. A lot of coaches get impatient. They want to hurry up and score. We don't care. We're going to score. Sooner or later, we're going to dink, dunk, and we're going to run out of field. Next thing you know, it's a touchdown. So we teach them to watch personnel. I have all our coaches get up. Like if it's a offensive line coach, he has to give a 2 minute. I give him 2 minutes on the shot clock, or 2.5, 2 at 45 at the most, to go over their the defensive line. Tell me their attributes. Number such and such, his name is such and such, he's 6 foot, 220 pounds, and then I may stop him right there. So you mean to tell me this joke in front of you is 220 pounds and you 280. So right now, you better whoop him. All right, you better whoop him. So he'll give a whole scouting report. We'll give a whole scouting report on their team. And then we want to watch some film because I want to know what they're dealing with. I don't want to do that, but I don't want to do that before the film. I want to do that. I want to do that before the film, not after the film, because I want them to know what they're looking at. Because this kid could look like Tarzan against his team that he played before, but he really is Jane, and he's 175 pounds. And you better pick him up and put him in a darn first ward bleachers. So we're watching to see where their weaknesses are, see what we can take advantage of. And I may stop and say, okay, right now we have a tight diamond, a lead right. What is your responsibility to make sure they on point? Well, I got to get upfield shoulder here. I got to get there. And I question them to make sure they're watching what I need them to watch. But watching film, most kids going to sit up there and watch themselves, man. They ain't going to get nothing out of it. You got to teach them. You got to teach them, especially down the distances.
Yeah.
All right. We are at the top of the hour. Went over a little bit there.
Well, Prime, before you jump, I want you to give a quick brief summary of your new partnership, man, with Barstool. I want you to tell everybody, man. We excited, man. Congratulations, man, on that.
I appreciate it, man. I've lived a tremendous life. God has been good. The NFL has been phenomenal to me. But I've always felt like I was underused. I've always felt like, even when I played ball, I was always telling them, hey, man, let me play some offense. Dog, let me, I'm bored over here on this island. Ain't nobody trying me. Let me play some offense. Let me run back punch. Let me do it. You know, so funny I'm getting off course, but you know when I played in San Francisco, you know I never ran a punt or a kickoff that whole year.
I know. I saw it. I checked it.
But I'm saying I never did. You know why? Because my dear friend, my former teammate, Dexter Carter, and I couldn't do that to him. But could you imagine being there the whole year saying, oh, boy, let me get my hands. So I didn't really, the only way I got the ball was to take it. I had to take it. But I've always felt like I was underutilized at the network because when you're on a set and they're in your ear and you asking me about the Dallas Cowboys, I only have 30 to 45 seconds to exhaust my thought. Then I got to give it to the next guy. That's hard to really tell you what I know in 30 to 45. I'm gonna give you a perfect example. Mm-hmm. A lot of people didn't know how smart and intelligent and on point Shannon Sharp was until he got a new job. Because when he was on CBS, he only had 35, 40 seconds. Mm-hmm. Now you seeing him exhaust his thought. You saying, dang, that brother's pretty smart.
Yeah, Shannon doing it.
Yeah, definitely.
Having your own platform that you can control all the content is a blessing, man. Like that's a home run for me. And it's funny how God could move you and shift you. And I always understood the shift. And I always heard God's voice clearly. I've always been able to hear him clearly. And I was ready for the move. And I knew I was going to make a move. But for it to come plentiful, like, I don't have to ever leave the house for nothing but to go coach. So everything I do is from my home. Every show I shoot is from my home. And they're bringing me in on a whole new audience, which is 18 to 34. So who am I coaching when I go to the next level? That demographic is my demographic. So to be able to articulate myself and get the word out to them, because I have a lot of opinions. Just like the gentleman just tried to sneak the girl in, from Seattle. He just called you. Did you see that?
I saw that. He dressed her up like a player.
Yeah, he had to dress like a player. Like, I don't condone, but I understand. I condone it one bit, but I understand. But then I'm thinking, wait, shooting at the dude, what about the girl? She gonna dress up as a dude to go come off them drawers in a hotel. Then what about coming out? I understand getting in, but coming out. Like, when did you plan on leaving? Or do you have your head down? Like, we can't just shoot at him. We got to shoot at her too, because he's just not the culprit. What about her? It's so many things I want to exhaust because I want to tell stories about. I do understand. Yeah. I wanted to get out. I remember getting in the trunk of a car, and one of the little managers drove me out straight to the hotel. I get out the trunk. I'm there. I'm good. I'm out. You gotta have an accomplice, you know. And you guess who that guy was? Jeremy Bates.
No.
Jeremy Bates.
I know Jeremy Bates.
The NFL coordinator, offensive coordinator, was my guy that used to take me out. His daddy, Bates, Jim Bates, was our linebacker coach. I understand. I don't condone. So it's a lot of things in life I want to talk about, but man, I get to control my own content. I get to elaborate on what I want to elaborate on. Then I'm getting to give brothers jobs. You know, me and Jamie Dukes been tight since I was 18 years old at Florida State University.
I know Jamie. Yeah.
My first $100 handshake when I ran back and kicked a punt against Florida. He gave me $100. I said, "What's that for?" He said, "Man, don't worry about it. That's." So I took 2 steps and walked off, and I said, "I wonder how much they gave him, because he just gave me 100. I wonder if I had some more."
And you know how Jamie go.
So I get to employ one of my partners that's been down with me, man.
Yeah.
Since I was 18, so I get to bring him back. He's very smart, very intelligent, very articulate, and he's gonna be my point guy. So, you know, I'm able to give guys jobs, you know, and I love it, man.
You know, one of the things I admire about you, though, honestly, is that, and I know Jamie too, you know, and we talked for a minute when he was on the network and stuff like that. Very passionate guy. But you've always reached back and he picked up guys like what you're doing for Nate. Charles been through some stuff, you know, great guy.
Great guy.
But you always got time for everybody, all your teammates. I remember one time you was with San Francisco, and I had a guy with the high school with that played with you from San Francisco. His name was Todd Kelly. But after the game, you said, "I'm not taking any pictures except with my teammates' families. My teammates' family first." Like little things like that, you always took a lot of passion in, man. And I watched that from afar. How that said a lot about you, because like you say, man, you know, the prime. You know, we all know the lights, cameras, action, and we know why that exists. But and a good friend of mine, Melvin Bratton, really gave me some real hardcore stories.
Barbecue man.
Barbecue. You know, he always tell me, man, so the one thing I've admired about you, how you taking care of guys like Nate and Charles, man, what gave you that feeling to be able to go back and grab a guy like Jamie that you know got, I mean, unbelievable skills you know, in terms of television work, and you giving him that shot?
Man, you know, when I grew up in the hood in Fort Myers, Florida, man, I was playing for Tice Tigers, All Black League, and this Caucasian gentleman saw me balling, and he came to me and came to my mom and asked me, could he take me to the other side of town and play on this team called the Fort Myers Rebels. And she said, "That's on him." I said, "Yeah." I went. That team, we were undefeated for 3 straight years. Everybody on the team, parents owned something. We had 4 black kids on the whole team. But that thing opened my eyes so much, because they would take me over their homes at the end of the games and all that. And I saw Mercedes, BMWs, and tennis courts in the front yards, and long driveway. Every house I've ever bought, I have a long driveway, because that's what I saw as a kid. And they just exposed me to so much more. That's why I never got caught up in the drugs and the dope, because I had seen this at 7 years old, man. Like, this is the way. So next thing you know, I grab another kid, bring him over, and expose them to the same thing I was exposed to. And I always knew, if that kid had taken that right instead of staying left, he probably would have been me. There's so many kids in my neighborhood, if they would have had the opportunity, man, they would have done it, but they was on the other side. They never would go to the other side of town, because they was listening to the oohs and ahs and the sellouts and this and that, and understand that wasn't real. Who you keeping it real for? What is your interpretation of real? So I've always had an affinity, man, to reach back and to reach out and bring them up, to bring people up, because I've been to the epitome of it, and it was lonely. So the more I could bring up, the more fun I could have, because Nate Newton right now, find something to do on my property. I say, Nate say, Prime, I want to buy a house out there. I said, Nate, why would you buy land out here? And I got darn 200 acres. Man, go pick out you 5 acres. This yours. Nate want to clean up this side of the property, had it all straight, changed his mind at the end. Go clean out that. I said, Nate, what you doing, you just trying to stay busy. I see what you're doing. It's darn near not a day go by that Nate ain't out here doing something. And he don't have to. He's my friend. But Nate likes to stay busy. And I love that. And when me, him, and Charles and Toba get together, man, see, now I have a vehicle that I can put that on because I want y'all to hear it. When we get together, the stories we tell and how ignorant it is and how Charles came out to our practice last week and cussed every defensive lineman I had out. Took off his shoes, coach barefooted, and cussed all of them out. But the nuggets that he told them when he was coaching, oh my God. Now I got the ability to put that on TV, to put it on the internet. So that's one reason I love it, man. But I always felt like I had to lift people up, man. I always had to lift them up and bring them next to me, man. It's lonely. You know, it gets lonely. You got to, something wrong if I don't reach one, teach one, man, and touch one, man, and bring another brother up. There's something wrong. Something wrong. It really is something wrong. And that's just how I get down, man. I've always been that way. You know that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
That's why that's all I answer, man.
I appreciate
you bless me multitudes of times, and you know my temperament. You call because they prime me. It ain't a lot, but it is what I got. Now, what you think? I love you. But you help a lot of brothers in our game, man. You really do, man. You guys do a great job. And people don't understand the dysfunction you deal with. I got a call today about this guy that played for Green Bay. I'm not going to call his name, but they say, Prime, you got to try to reach him, man. From the league. Now, I just left the league, business-wise, but I said, no problem. Give me the name. Now I got to do my homework on him because I got to know what I'm walking into. So I don't want to blind call him and I don't know what he's dealing with. But he must be showing out for them to call me.
Yeah. I mean, our league are full of unique personalities and guys that's going through a lot. And, I've been in the PA for 26 years now, man. And I tell you, I think the reason that I'm still there is because this is God's work. I really do. And man, I'm not a Sundays guy. I don't need to go to no football games. I'm good.
You're good.
When I go in those locker rooms and I see those eyes and I know what they're dealing with, and I know when they go home, when the cameras are turned off, they're dealing with a whole multitude of issues that people don't see. And I like to put my arm around them and say, hey, man, I'm going to be here for you while you're playing and when you leave the game. Okay, that's key. When you leave the game, because once you leave the game, those teams, I'm just being honest, they don't care nothing about you. So
business.
It's just business. It's just business. So I'm there. But look, man, I don't want to hold you up. I want to thank you so much, man, for taking the time. Man, you my brother. I love you.
Appreciate you, man. Vernon, I appreciate you, boss.
Hey, thanks for coming on. We got a lot of, and I know Carl shared with you, the 757 area code in VA, but we had a lot of people to join outside of Virginia, but, words of wisdom and right in people's living room, we appreciate that big time.
And I appreciate y'all for giving me this platform. Thank you, my brother. Call me when you need me, Carl.
My man, appreciate you. Okay, take care.
All right.